Welcome to Upper Left Tech, a podcast featuring tech executives in the Pacific Northwest where we explore their personal journeys, their passions, and purpose. I'm your host, Dave Welty, and today we have a very special guest, Janice Francisco. Janice has been an employee of Microsoft for over 20 years, and I think rumor has it it'll be 22 in February. She started as a paralegal, and she's worked her way all the way up to Chief of Staff of Philanthropies. Welcome to the show, Janice.
Thanks very much.
Hey, Janice, before we get going, I've got a bunch of questions to ask you. Can you tell our listeners, how did a gal from Philadelphia get to Redmond, Washington?
On a plane, Dave. It was a plane. I have to say, I'm originally from Michigan, and I am holding up my hand and showing you where my hometown is on my palm, even though you can't see it. And then I made a decade-long stop in Philadelphia and moved to Seattle, like you said, 22 years ago in January. And it was kind of dumb luck. I worked with a lawyer on one project I didn't really know her that well, and she moved out here and called me 2 months later and said, gosh, I could really use somebody who knows all the patent rules. Would you be interested in coming out? And I came out for an interview, and they made me an offer, and I didn't think it was a great offer, and I kept telling them it wasn't enough money, and they were like, yeah, well, that's all we are going to give you. So we'd love to have you come out. And I kept saying, no, I don't think that's going to be enough. And they went, well, that's all there is. So they wore me down. They wore me down, and I moved out.
And I think from all I can tell, it's worked out quite well for you.
It's been the best thing I've ever done. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And rumor has it, Seattle's a much better town than Philadelphia.
Oh, no, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Okay. Well,
I still know people there. You can't say that.
No, you can know people there, but okay, let me ask you this, Janice. If somebody told you today that you're retiring tomorrow and you either have to spend the rest of your days in the greater Seattle area or Philadelphia, where's it going to be?
Seattle.
There we go. Thank you. You just answered my question. You just backed up the premise of my comment. Thanks. Hey, so you came as a paralegal, correct?
I did, yes.
Yep. So you came to Microsoft as a paralegal. You're now Chief of Staff of Philanthropies, which I think is a super cool job. Tell us a little bit about what that journey's been like.
Long. It seems like long and a little meandering, but really just full of so many learning opportunities. I worked I was an IP paralegal in the patent group, and I took on this project to help stand up some processes for a new business. We had a new licensing program, and I thought it was just going to be a little side project, and it ended up evolving into an operations job, which was super interesting, but not really something I wanted to do for a long time. So I eventually moved on into business management roles across the legal department, and then chief of staff roles. And I think I've had 11 jobs in the 22 years I've been here. And really the common theme across all of them was a need for someone to figure things out. And it was usually because we were doing something new. And I like to figure things out. So I kept looking for new things to work on.
So in an environment like that, where you're one of these people that comes in and troubleshoots, again, as you said, figure things out. Has there ever been like this crossroads moment in your professional career in this, and again, I'm going to call it the journey of success that you've been on? And if you could, tell us what that crossroads moment was, and if you had to do it all differently, what would you do different?
I think there was a moment when I like I said, I had this operations job, and I really just didn't love it, even though I could see a path, and I had a great manager who was like, here's where we see this role evolving, and you could lead this whole team. And I just didn't love the work, and I don't know that it was the best work for me. It was sort of figuring out long-term roadmaps on systems and tools, and it's just not really my wheelhouse. I could do it, but I didn't get super excited by it. But I really liked learning about the business, and there was an opportunity to go back to a paralegal job supporting the office business, and it was actually a level down. It was I kind of moved past the paralegal ranges, and I thought, wow, you make some progress and you achieve success and you get promoted. You don't really want to go backwards. And I thought, well, I shouldn't really do that. And I really liked the group that I would be supporting, so I did it. And honestly, it's one of the best things I did, because it really helped me learn a lot about the business, the actual product development business and the marketing business, which I then used to transition into other business management roles, because I understood what their drivers were and what the business was trying to achieve. And I'm not sure I could have been successful as a business manager if I hadn't had that paralegal job that I kind of took a step back. It propelled me forward to a bunch of different roles, which has been great. I would not do it differently.
Well, it's so funny in life. We've got these simple little sayings. Sometimes one step back to take two forward, right? And it seems so simple. It seems so simple when you say it, but yet it's so true. I mean, think about it for somebody who's had the success you've had at Microsoft, and just a simple thing of saying, you know what, I need to take a deep breath. I'm not in the position I want to be in. I'm willing to take that step back so that I can go forward. And it's clearly worked out really well for you. Janice, I'm curious, again, 21 years at Microsoft, almost 22. And how did you do that at the age just being 35 now? I'm just kidding, Janice.
You're my favorite, Dave.
Yes. So Janice, think back, 20 years ago, you're fairly new at Microsoft, and you're fortunate enough to run across the Janice Francisco of today, this person who's had, I think you just said 8 different positions or something within the company in these 21 years. What piece of advice would you give that person who you made a connection with, and you said, here's a young person within the organization, and I'm going to take them under my wing and give them a little bit of advice? What would that advice be?
I would say if you have an opportunity to learn something, take the time to do it, even if it's outside of your immediate responsibility, or even if it's not something that you think directly impacts your job now. If you can learn something, do it, because it opens up so many opportunities you wouldn't even think about. I mean, I always tell people, talk to people, find out what they're doing and why. Sometimes people think that networking is sort of a forced exercise and it's not genuine, and they don't really want to do it. But understanding why and how other people do things is super beneficial for me. It always has been. It helps you think about, how you're doing your own work. It's a good way to generate new ideas. It's actually a really good way to help you source candidates when you are, opening new roles on your own team. Just knowing people and different people having different perspectives I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. I think it's great for anybody. I would say, again, don't be afraid to take a step back to look more broadly at the landscape, to figure out where you might fit in. Don't be afraid if you really like doing something, don't be afraid to sort of think about how you could make this into a role. A lot of the jobs that I've had, it was just a project where somebody was trying to work out a new thing, and it ended up being a whole new position. So I think don't be afraid to try new things. That sounds kind of trite, I think, but it really is the path forward. And then just find something too that's meaningful, like the philanthropies team now. It at its core is a chief of staff job. So it's communications and strategy setting and figuring out how we measure things and scorecarding. But the work that we do, really helping underserved communities with digital skills and employment opportunities, it's super rewarding. So whether I've spent a lot of time working with customers, now working with other organizations, nonprofit organizations, and just do something that's interesting that you see the value from, and that helps you go to work every day, changing the world. That's what Microsoft does. We change the world.
Well, it's interesting. My opening for Upper Left Tech, I talk about interacting with tech executives from the Northwest, and we want to explore their personal journeys, their passions, and their purpose. Well, I think that you have just kind of articulated to us, the listeners, kind of what your purpose is. I think you found that job at Microsoft that you were meant for, because we've spoke before, and I've never heard you so passionate about what you're doing, and you can just hear it in your voice. And so I think it's pretty dang cool. It's refreshing to hear, because a lot of people, as you know, we work with a lot of people from Microsoft, and we see the grind that people go through. And a lot of times it's a 60-hour-a-week job, and it's just that, it's a job. But it sounds to me like you finally found something within the organization that you feel really good about. So that's
Yeah,
good to
I
hear.
agree. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing to see the impact that again, even just some training on digital skills can have to people. We're just sending my boss off soon to a refugee camp in Jordan to see the impact of some of the programs that we've developed for people who are, kids who are on the move. And, it's just amazing. It's just amazing what, a little attention and a little work can do.
Hey, Janice, how aware are the rank and file at Microsoft? How aware are they of what it is, the great work that you guys do in philanthropies? Is this something that Microsoft does a pretty good job about spreading the word on, or are you guys doing this behind the scenes?
No, I think we do. We certainly try to get the stories out. The other thing about Microsoft that is amazing for me, I just think it's the most amazing benefit, is that the company matches donations to nonprofits by the employees dollar for dollar. And they all up to a certain level, and they a certain dollar amount a year, and they also match employees' time. So if you volunteer in a nonprofit or you volunteer for your kids' soccer team, for every hour you spend, the company donates $25 to the nonprofit, which is amazing. So I think October is usually the giving month. So we have both personal giving programs, and then we try to tell the story of the way that Microsoft is using its assets, people, technology, money, to make a difference around the world in communities. So I think we try to do a good job of it.
Good.
I hope it gets through to people. Yeah. Yeah, we're not shy about it. We like it.
Good. And you shouldn't be shy about it. When you do great work, let people know. As I mentioned, I have the privilege of working with a lot of folks from Microsoft. I see the number of hours that they work, the commitment to really get the job done and get it done well. Do you find it's difficult to find work-life balance?
At times, sure. Yeah. It just depends on what's going on and what's on fire, and where sometimes it's busier than others, but it's generally a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I think you have to try to set boundaries. I think I try to think about what are the things that I'm uniquely qualified to do, and I'm going to prioritize that first. And then see if there are ways that they're, if I can have other people on the team, give them some opportunities for stretch goals. If there are other things that, other people on the team can do, things that you can try to automate, or things that you can, decide maybe this isn't important. But I think the first thing you have to do is just prioritize what can only you do, and kind of tackle those first. I think having some, trying to get away, maybe having some time where maybe you try to work from home, so you have some, you don't have a commute. It's always the kind of ending the week where you don't have an hour commute each way is great, because you can actually work and then just be done. I try to do that sometimes, but I think you have to try to set some boundaries.
Good. Hey, one last question for you. I follow you on social media a bit, and I know that you are a connoisseur of the Seattle restaurant scene. What's your favorite place to dine?
Oh, too many. It's like picking your favorite kid.
Okay, top two.
Ma'am Noon.
Say again?
Well, I like Ma'am Noon. I like Palace Kitchen's always the best. Best bar, best burger, Palace Kitchen. I like. There's just so many. What were you saying? Steak?
Pardon me?
I thought you said steak.
No, not steak. Just favorite place to dine in the greater Seattle area. And you're right, though. There are so many. It's a foodie's dream city. I would say that. So.
I agree.
Good. Janice, I want to thank you again for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it. I'd like you to keep us apprised of your journey. Maybe after you hit that 22nd anniversary, let us know how things are going, especially if for some reason somebody else within the organization pulls you away from philanthropies. We'd like to hear about what that looks like.
Sure.
Sounds
I
good?
think I'm stuck. I think I'm here for a while, though.
You're
I like this philanthropies team.
good. Well, don't go anywhere then. Again, thank you so much and much appreciated.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Good. And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Upper Left Tech. Please subscribe so you'll be notified for the next one. Thanks again.